ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Soundoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It is Angel Ortega. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week on this Halloween edition of the Courtside Soundoff podcast, including we got to talk about UFC 308. It was a rough night for our boys. It was a really rough night. But don't worry, we got UC Edmonton coming up. We got a bunch of news. As always, you're brought to you. We got a few sponsors of the show. Rogue Energy and ELYXR. Rogue Energy can be fueled up whether I'm at home or I'm at the gym. They can move to the finish line. They can help you get there as well. Code SOUNDOFF at checkout. All caps for 10% off. Meanwhile, ELYXR, they're going to get you really high with their Delta 8 products. Once again, all code SOUNDOFF at checkout. All caps. However, we're also brought to you by our friends over at BetMGM. UFC fans, we have an offer for you. You can get up to $1,500 in bonus bets paid back if you follow our link down below to BetMGM, legal in many states. If you're having any issues, go ahead and contact 1-800-GAMBLER if you're having any issues. But if you're looking to have some fun with the fights this weekend, go ahead and go. Once again, BetMGM. You can follow our link down below and have a little bit of fun. And if you don't hit, you'll get some bonus bets paid back. Also brought to you by Rebet, our friends over at Rebet. Once again, same case there. If you follow the affiliate link down below or use the code SOUNDOFF, all caps, you can get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Once again, contact 1-800-GAMBLER if needed. So on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, they're new friends to the show. You guys have heard about Rogue Energy and ELYXR for a long time, but MGM and Rebet, shout out to them as well, joining us along for the ride. Look, if we were to follow BetMGM and Rebet and we were to talk about our predictions from last week, it'd be a rough night for the main and co-main. I'll put it like that. Rough night for the main. We hit on everything else.
I think I had the better because I picked Chimaev.
Oh, that's true. You did pick. Oh,
so I got one up on you.
In that case, I predicted the main and co-main wrong. We got the rest of the card correct, but
yeah, get fucked.
I know. That's good. I know. In the main event,
could you imagine how savage it would have been if I picked Ilia?
Honestly, I really went heart over head last week.
It really was.
I knew that.
It really was. You know? It really was. But
I'll always go hard over head if it's like a matchup that I think is mildly close anyway.
Right.
But in the main event, speaking of hearts, heartbroken. Max Holloway loses by third round knockout. The first two rounds of this fight, it's basically just it was high level chess. You're seeing these guys super fast paced, neither one taking a breath. I saw after the first two rounds, some people said 2-0 Ilia, some people said 2-0 Max, some people had a 1-1. I think one judge had a 2-0 Ilia and the other two had a 1-1. Personally, I can't remember how I scored it. It was just that fast pace. I don't really blame anybody if you had it.
Some of those the second round I think I found very hard to score if I remember right.
I remember thinking that Max won round 2 and Ilia won round 1.
It was a hard,
it was a razor close fight. It kind of reminded me.
If it went 5 rounds, it would have been
insane fight to score. But in the end, the scorecards were not needed. El Matador out of Spain scores a third round knockout. The first man to crack the chin of Blessed, the Hawaiian legend, the first stoppage loss of his career. Ilia Topuria being good is like the hardest thing to watch in MMA because it's not because I hate the guy. But like
he's actually quite fun to watch.
He's very fun, but he's just coming through and beating the piss out of the guys I love. And it's like, man.
Dude, I was ahead of the curve on him. I did not know. Like I thought he was good. There's certain guys you just see are like they're different. And can you go to you got his profile?
Yeah, I got his record pulled up right here.
So it was probably like that Damon Jackson fight where I was like, okay.
Yeah. Because Damon Jackson.
And I hyped up Ryan Hall fight in hopes that my boy Ryan, because I love Ryan Hall, man. I'm always going to give love to guys, even if I'm like, in reality, I'm like,
I feel like
because I remember at the time we didn't really fully know about Ilia at the time, and I remember bringing it up, be like, yeah, Ryan Hall, we were hyping up Ryan Hall, but in the back of my head, I was like,
okay. I mean, Ilia is just. That Ryan Hall fight was the one that made me take notice of him. Because I'm like, Ryan Hall he's not a world beater. I never thought he was going to be a champion. But the way that you fight him, it's hard to look good against him. But he knocked him out inside the first round. So it's like, okay, this guy's for real, you know? And then he just keeps on racking up wins, keeps on racking up finishes. And he murdered Bryce Mitchell. He destroyed Josh Emmett. And then he fought Volk. And, I feel like a lot of people made a lot of excuses, understandably so, for the Volk fight. Because Volk had just gotten knocked out less than 4 months ago whenever he took that fight. in Ilia, like the boxing, and he looked great, but it's one of those things like, how much can you really take from that? He's facing a guy right now, Max Holloway, heading into this fight, I should say, coming off arguably the best win of his entire career. I mean, you can argue him or the Jose Aldo title win back in 2017, I think. And that's not to say Max didn't have other great wins. He has a long list of them, future Hall of Famer. But I think that Justin Gaethje win was so destructive as the underdog, biggest stage of all time, and he just dominated.
By the way, isn't Max still the last guy to finish Aldo?
I believe so. No, but that was Piotr Jan.
Piotr finished Aldo?
Correct, in the fifth round.
Oh, yeah.
He was 251, Fight Island.
Yeah. Yo, credit where credit's due. You got to think about it, though. Since then, though, like, Aldo is still, like, maintained a level of, like...
He's still really good.
Where it's, like, people are still not getting him out of there. They're not knocking him out. They're not submitting him. So I was kind of like, fuck, dude. Like, credit where credit's due. I didn't even think about that. I heard Luke mention that on his show.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing, man. Like, you're talking about a guy who, like, man, we knew he was good, but this is just one of those fights. It's like, oh, he is that good. Like, if there were any doubts left, Ilia Topuria left none after the Saturday. I mean,
it was a good win, man. It was a good win. Like any fight, dude. I'm not gonna discredit him. There's always like this factor, that factor. Like, I do think like going back down to 145 for Max was like, admittedly, he didn't look bad on the scale, but I'm sure it was not easy on the body.
No. It didn't help that and also it's not like the previous time went to 155, which is short notice. He didn't have a lot of time to pack on muscle. He looked like a 155 against Justin Gaethje, and then he had to lose all that weight again. Which I hate to bring up like a boxing example because we're talking about MMA. I think whenever I saw the knockout, I'm like, oh, I think of Roy Jones. Whenever he moved up to heavyweight, and they ended up dropping back down to light heavyweight, he dropped all that weight, got knocked out his first fight back. Max Holloway moves up, looked great, drops back down, got knocked the fuck out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think no matter what, 155 is the road, and it's kind of seemed like that's kind of what he settled on to. I don't think he's like 100% confirmed, like that's his dead set.
Mm-hmm.
But to give the champion his flowers, I mean, dude, stellar performance. Like, I'm excited, you know? Like, I took me a little while to be like, okay, whatever, you know, we went through. I mean, the fucking Max Holloway is my PFP, dude, for crying out loud. Like, me and him, I've met the guy. The guy's an absolute, like...
He's an absolute mensch.
I mean, he's super down to earth. Like, I've said it several times on the show. Like, he fucking... That somewhat, like, makeshift meet and greet he did here at Memorial Hall in Kansas City, that guy took time out of his day to talk to every single one of those fans in line, even if it was for a short period of time, and signed all fucking hats, memorabilia, whatever, and was like the most down to earth motherfucker ever.
And he gave, and I'll give from my perspective as a media member, getting to meet the guy and getting to talk with him for a few minutes about like open scoring, because that's why he was there. I was able to turn that into a cage side press piece, and he gave me the time of day when he really could have told me to fuck off because he's on vacation. That's essentially what that was. Like, he did not have to do a meet and greet. He didn't have to talk to me as a media member, but he did. He was respectful. Him and his manager, great dudes. You know what I mean? And
he was nice to everybody, man. People came up to him after the fights because, you know, obviously the girls, you know, they're fighters. They're fans of Max too. Yeah. They all went up, you know, was like, hey, you know, shook the hand. You saw it down there that whole night. It was nice to some of the staff too. I saw him talk to some of the staff there.
Yeah.
Kansas City, I mean, Memorial Hall is a very, very small venue, guys. Yeah. You haven't been there. And the fact that he was that kind of people, and I mean, Max is like, I mean, can I say A-list celebrity? I mean, I know globally, it's kind of a hard thing to do, but he's a celebrity, man. I mean, he could have an ego and he did it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, but I will say, I knew it was a possibility, but seeing Max Holloway laid out like that,
it hurt.
It was
hard to see. And dude, you know what fucked me up more? It wasn't even necessarily the loss, but afterwards when he talked, like very near the end, I can tell he's like choking up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what got me, to be honest. It wasn't seeing him laid out was like, okay. Yeah. But him actually talking and expressing, that hurt me. The way I can describe it is like seeing a friend who's hurt and there's nothing you can really do about it besides be there and hope they can get through it.
Yeah.
It's kind of I think that was the kind of best way I can describe it. Because I mean, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, look at this fucking weirdo being emotional about a 33-year-old man," but it's you know how people are. But the way I kind of want to give a different perspective on it, in which it's like, dude, you got to take into account, like, for almost 10 years now, Max has been a part of my life and watching the sport and has been in the mix. And I've seen him win. I've seen him lose. I've seen him get married. I've met the guy in person. And that obviously plays a big factor for me as a fan and someone who likes commentating on the sport. That really hurt.
Yeah.
You know? So And it sucked, man. And also, it's like in this, and dude, fighting, no bullshit. Like I remember, oh my god, what's Matt Serra on Dana White looking for a fight that did this bit for comedy, and it's funny because he did a bit about this. He's like, fighting isn't about it's about emotions, and it sounds really funny because he made a bit out of it. He start talking about Rocky and Adrian and telling Rocky to give up, and it's like, fuck you, Adrian.
Yeah,
why you telling Rocky to pick up? But kind of to reel it back in,
Adrian's a bitch.
He's not entirely wrong. Like fighting in and of itself is a very emotional sport to watch and very emotional for the fighters themselves, man. Like one day your guy can be on fucking top and then the next day on like the other end of it, dude. And some guys always gonna be coming up and some guys always gonna be leaving. That's just this fucking sport.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I can't imagine the people who fucking saw Buster Douglas what he did on the night of, dude. People fucking cried in their household, man.
Yeah. I mean, the combat sports draws emotions out of people more than any other sport. I feel like mainly because the fact that it is a combat sport. In baseball, if you lose a game, it sucks.
We got next week.
If you lose in basketball, that sucks. Football, same thing. In MMA, and you know what's funny is, full disclosure here, I did not watch the fights with Angel and the boys. I tried to make it out.
It was silent.
Interviews. Yeah. But I tried. I had work. I had tried to get over there. I called you right after I got out of work because I sat in the parking lot and watched the last 2 rounds.
Jesus, I
called him and I was like,
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that, dude.
I was just fuck, just sitting in my car, dude. I must look like a psychopath because I'm leaving the work parking lot. Like I called him up. I'm like, that's it. I'm driving into traffic. I'm done. I had to watch Max and Robert Whittaker lose. Like, I'm done. I'm driving into traffic. Like that. But jokes aside, like the emotion was there. I was heated. I was like, come on, man. Like, fuck, are you shitting me? Because I had to watch. It's not like I didn't watch Max Holloway lose a game. Max Holloway got his ass kicked. He suffered permanent, life-changing damage. That hurts to see whenever you're watching these sports, man. It genuinely does.
I was gonna say this might be premature ejaculation here, but what would you rate this card?
Oh
dude,
man,
it's dude. I'm not gonna lie.
The hardest card to rate all year.
I will say if RDA and Chris Barnett, because it kind of messed up with the pacing, didn't get injured, I feel like this card could have been rated higher. Just because those fights just ended the way they were. I'm not saying necessarily those fights would have been.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Great fights,
7.5, 8.
Dude, I think it could even. It's not that far from a 9 for me. I know that's kind of crazy. But I kind of came to the conclusion, I'm like, I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah.
Because, dude, the two main event results were crazy. The Ankalaev Rocket fight